Hello, folks, and welcome back to continuing coverage of the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championship. John Cullen once again with you, and joined once again by four-time BC Scotties champion and one-time Canadian Scotties champion, Melissa Saligo. And Melissa, we've got a great game tonight, a battle of my former skips, the number 2 seed Sebastian Robillard. His first game, he's going to be facing off against Dean Jonis and Melissa. These are two skips you know very well also. I'm expecting this to be a very solid game.
I would fully agree with that. Both of these teams are coming into this with, different pathways. So Sebastian played quite a bit. Robillard played quite a bit on the circuit. Dean not so much. He played a few spiels, didn't go all out, didn't travel a whole bunch. So two different pathways to get here. But you know that both of these teams, we know all the players on this sheet. We know that they make a ton of shots, and we know that they love to play with a lot of rocks in play. I said that last time in the previous broadcast, but we'll see. We'll see if it holds true today, or if they're going to just feel each other out for the first end.
The broadcaster's curse, I think you're
That's right. I
you're
got to
laying
stop
down
saying
right
that,
now.
maybe.
Yeah.
Or
No,
I keep
I
saying
know.
it,
And
I
then
might keep
eventually
saying it'll come true. Yeah.
A broken clock is right twice a day, I think they say, is something along those lines. So yeah, no, it's I know for a fact from, as I said, playing with both these guys, two skips that like to get rocks in play and are not afraid to mix it up. And of course, Sebastian and Dean both known for their ability to throw big weight. And so I think that that's why we see them maybe not be too afraid to mix it up, just because of, that bailout ability. They know that, if they get into some trouble, they have the ability to bail out. And also they both have the ability to make that big weight shot for multiple points.
Yeah, that's a great points for sure. And these two teams, I'm not sure if they played much against each other so far this season, but that's exactly true. Dean loves to throw that hard one, as we know, and he can make things happen with it. Sebastian is now doing the exact same thing. He has made a ton of shots. Obviously, he's number 1 on the BC Tour, and number 24 actually on the Canadian Tour, the Canadian team ranking system. So had a great season, won a lot of things and a lot of games, and I'm pretty excited about this one.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Then this is actually a rematch. Speaking of them playing each other, they've only played each other once this year, and it was in the final of the King Cash Spiel. That is, of course, Dean's home club that he curls out of and also manages in Golden Ears. They met in the final, and it was Robillard who was victorious 7-4. So he will look to improve on that, or not improve, but do the same thing here again tonight. And Dean will be looking to maybe get that W back. And so you get a good look at Sebastian right there, and he's a focused man. I know that I've known him for a long time. He's an intense guy, but he's very fun to play with, and he's given us the look right in the camera.
I think he gave us a dirty look.
He knew I was about to talk about him, but
that's right.
No, for Sebastian, I know that his main motivation to continue curling is the Brier. He's never been there before. Dean, of course, has been to the Brier twice, and he's been a silver medalist a few times with myself and a few other squads. And so obviously Dean would like to get back there. He hasn't been there since 2007. Sebastian's never been there. And so I know for him, that's almost the only reason that he still plays. I mean, obviously he loves the game and everything like that, but that's his main driving factor is to get to the Brier. And I know talking to him today, he feels like this is the team that could do it. And as you said, Melissa, they've had a great season, and I firmly believe that they're one of the top contenders here this week.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And obviously coming in here, they were, I believe, number 2, John. And for that
Yes.
very reason, because they've had a great season.
Yes, exactly. So it's going to be a great battle here. Two lower mainland teams. Of course, Team Jonis curling out of the Golden Ears Curling Club. Sebastian Robillard representing Royal City. And they also have some ties to the Nelson Curling Club, as lead Nathan Small curls out of Nelson. But they're officially repping Royal City here for this game, as Dean Jonis calls the first rock in the house, and that goes a little bit deep. So we'll see if Seb's good to his word, and he is. He's throwing a corner guard. He told us he would do this, so
yes,
I'm glad that he followed through. So we get a good look here at Nathan Small. He won the BC Mixed with Sebastian. They won this year with Carla Thompson and Amanda Guido, who will see those two in action on the ladies' side of the draw this week. The Scotties, I shouldn't say the ladies' side of the draw, the separate tournament, Scotties. Pardon me. And yeah, they had a pretty good run at the mixed. They just barely missed the playoffs there. Or sorry, they made the championship round, but then missed the playoffs. And so Nathan throwing lead stones. Cody Tanaka at second. Bowie Abbas Mills from Ontario is curling third. He's their import player. He curls out of the Rideau Club in Ottawa, Ontario. And then, of course, Sebastian Robillard is skipping. And over on the other side, we have Dean Jonis's team, as I said, from Golden Ears Winter Club in Maple Ridge, British Columbia. And they feature Jeff Guinard at lead, but he does hold the broom while Dean Jonis is throwing. And then we have Cody Johnston at second, Daniel Wenzik at third, and then calling the game and throwing last is Dean Jonis.
And right off the bat, John, this is a very different look than the first game that we commentated together. We've already got our fourth rock coming into play here.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what Seb said. They like to play with rocks in play, and as we said off the top, Dean's not afraid of it as well. And so, yeah, this is going to be already promising to be a more exciting first end than we saw last game when Gil and when Gil and De Jong traded hits in the first. And as you said, Melissa, off the top of the show, this is Sebastian Robillard's 27th game of the year. So they've been all around playing mostly on the BC Tour, but they also went to Red Deer for the Vesta Energy Curling Classic. And they qualified in every spiel they played in except for the Red Deer spiel. So obviously a great year for them. Dean only played 2 tournaments this year. So this is only Dean's 13th game of the year. So Sebastian has literally played double the number of games, and we'll see if that's a bit of a factor here as these two teams get things going.
Looking for the hit and roll here for Cody Tanaka.
It's a battle of the Codys at second tonight. Tanaka and Johnston, both excellent players. Cody Johnston, originally from Northern Ontario, has made his home in BC now for quite some time. I think I want to say around 7 years or so. And he's been very active on the BC Tour that whole time. Very strong sweeper.
Nice shot there by
nice
Cody.
shot there.
So one of the things we'll watch for this game, this is the 7 p.m. game we watched this afternoon, and both teams are struggling a little bit with draw weight, John, as we noticed. And so it'll be interesting to see how quick these two teams can pick up on that draw weight right away, early in this game.
Absolutely. I think we saw 2 things. We saw the teams struggle a little bit with draw weight, and what we also saw, a really nice shot there from Cody Tanaka, making a nice little control weight double. One thing we saw too, Melissa, was that the rocks stopped quite early. And so we noticed that a few times that, teams thought the rocks were there and they sort of grinded to a halt. And sometimes you see that early in a tournament. Often the ice makers will sharpen the rocks before a tournament. And so sometimes you get a little bit of that grind when it's coming into the house. And we saw that in the first draw. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. As we saw in the first game today, the teams tended to lose track of some of the draws, and they ended up a lot lighter than they were expecting.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a good point, and we'll definitely keep an eye on that. We saw 2 really good draws early in this end, and then, of course, Nathan made 2 on his side, too. So Daniel Wenzik here trying to draw into the 4-foot. So far, no problem with draw weight on either team.
Yeah, no kidding. Just puts that right on the pin, covering that Scotties logo. Of course, both the BC men's and BC women's provincial championships running concurrently. The women will be getting into action tomorrow, and we'll be covering a couple women's games for you. We don't know exactly which ones yet. It's going to depend on how the draw goes, but safe to say we're going to see some excellent curling tomorrow from the ladies' side.
Trying the run back.
And that's really nice from
Wow,
Bowie
what a
Abbas-Mills.
shot.
Makes the run back and splits the house perfectly. And this is a great start for the Robillard rink. 5 shots and 5 makes. And they're sitting 2.
There really hasn't been a miss on either side, but you know, it's just a matter of those phenomenal shot there by excuse me, by Bowie that, you know, hits and stick, and all of a sudden you're sitting 2 when really Team Joe Nice hadn't missed a shot yet.
So trying to get a roll here. And they will. Nice shot from Dan Wenzik. But it is second shot, so Sebastian will have the option of splitting or coming in. I was going to say coming in, but split's pretty good too. Melissa, do you like this call?
You know, I do like this call, but I actually like the come around first. This is a shot that will always be there. And I maybe like this a little bit later in the end. I know it's third, second stone, but if you play into the rings first, you know, you don't, by playing the split, I guess what I'm saying is by playing the split, the 2 rocks are going to end up quite high in the house, and so it's going to give Team Joe Nice an opportunity to play a hit and roll back behind that center guard. So why not beat them to it? Trying, if I was teams, if I was Sebastian's team, maybe play that come around first, top 4 behind that center line.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one, and obviously Bowie didn't quite curl the way they hoped, but it is still Robillard sitting 2 with hammer. So I think there's enough room here for Dean to come through the port and just hit and roll on top of that blue in the back 8. You just have to make sure you're shot here if you're Dean.
You can see what
Again,
Cody's pointing
sorry,
to.
go ahead.
Yeah, you just see what Cody's pointing to there. You know, if you do play that hit, it is there. I agree with you, John. But if for any reason you're a little bit tight and you tick that other blue stone into the rings, it automatically makes 4 a possibility in this end. So is it worth the risk in the first end without hammer? Probably not. And I think that's what Cody was trying to say to the back end. And they now have elected to play the come around instead, which I like a little bit better.
For sure, I agree. It's not an easy port to navigate, especially when you maybe don't know exactly what the ice is doing. So we get our first look at Dean Joe Nice here without hammer. And having to make a pretty big shot early here, facing 2 without the hammer. Looking to come around, and he's going to need this to get into the, maybe biting the forefoot.
It's a good look at the brushing there by Daniel Wenzik and Cody Johnston.
Really nice shot from Dean Joe Nice. Great sweeping. One thing you'll notice about Sebastian is he's a very quick decision maker.
That is very true.
You won't see too many teams play faster than them, Melissa.
No, I would agree. And you know, I was just gonna say, you look at the turn he's taken here. It's almost over buried from the turn that he's taking, but he must know the ice here and be comfortable with that ice condition on this side of the sheet. And I think he's worried if he took the other turn, it would actually push it back onto that blue stone that's at the back. So he figures he's got a better chance here of just getting to the, even if he gets half a rock and hits and rolls away, that's okay too.
Got to try and bring this one over. Can they get it there?
What a shot.
They do. Fantastic
Wow.
touch from Sebastian Robillard. How about that? Beautiful shot from Dean Jonis, and what an answer from Sebastian. My goodness.
Look at that, it rolls perfectly buried. What a terrific shot. I don't think Dean has any choice here but to try and replicate his first rock and maybe just put it in a little bit different position so that Sebastian doesn't have that same shot, but I'm not sure. Is there a double
this is
there?
what we in the business. I mean, again, it's that same situation you're talking about earlier. You ever hit the guard into the house, or there's just it's not great. This is what we in the business refer to as drawing for your life.
Yes, yes, very much. What an incredible shot in the first end.
Totally, and obviously if you give up a big end here, if you're Dean, it's obviously the first end, still a lot of game to go. So it's not quite drawing for your life, but certainly Dean's going to have to get this in the right spot or they're going to be in huge trouble here. So Dean Jonis, his final stone in the first end, does not have hammer and is facing 3. And he's going to need to put this in a perfect spot or it's going to be a world of pain.
This one might have a little bit more carrying weight because they're not sweeping it right out of his hand as the first one. Now Daniel's going to try and get it to curl. Weight looks pretty good.
Pretty good result. But I think Sebastian will have pretty much the same shot, and with the rock going a little bit deeper, he will actually have the option of curling it even a little bit more past the guard. So big shot here for Sebastian Robillard. Has a chance to put 4 on the board here in the first.
And it's hard to say that after Dean Jonis just pretty much made 2 perfect draws around a center guard. But Sebastian answering back on his first, and let's see if he can do it on his second.
And this looks pretty much perfect. Can they get it over?
Wow.
They can. Count them up. A 4 ball of knowledge for Sebastian Robillard in the first end of his first game here at the BC Championships. What a couple of shots from Sebastian Robillard, and they're going to take a 4-0 lead into the second end. My goodness, we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to continuing coverage of the BC Men's Provincial Championships live from Kamloops, British Columbia. You're watching Draw 2 coverage. Sebastian Robillard against Dean Jonis and Melissa. Have to say, a dream start for Team Robillard, putting up 4 in the first end.
Incredible, like absolutely incredible. And like I said, when, you know, I can't really remember a full miss, and maybe I'm just forgetting, but I can't really remember a full miss from Team Jonis. And, you know, they played exactly how they wanted to. They brought the first one in corner guard goes up, they put the cap on it, and Nathan Small making a perfect come around the corner, and things just, you know, it's not that Jonice was putting things in the wrong way, but Cody Tanaka made 2 great shots, one of them being a double, and Sebastian Robillard just making 2 phenomenal shots, identical to each other, and just hit and roll behind those couple of guards, and there you go. All of a sudden, there's 4 on the board.
Yeah, just like you said, one of those ends for Jonice. They didn't really. It wasn't like the end got away from them. You know, usually when you give up 4, you think, okay, well, you know, we did something wrong. But, you know, it was just a case of Robillard just being on the right side of the inch a few times, and Bowie Abbas Mills also making that really nice run back on his first. Really helped them get it set up too. But yeah, I mean, it was just a well played end from both teams, and Robillard took full advantage of having the hammer and made 2 just beautiful board weight come around hits on his rocks. And for his first game of the tournament, looking pretty good. I think one of the things that you worry about, or not worry about, you're always happy to get an opening round bye, of course. But then, you know, the team that you're playing, they just played, they know the ice. Sometimes you can be a little bit slower to start. So I think Team Robillard will be thrilled with how that first end went for them, given that.
I would totally agree, and I don't think there was anything slow about that first end.
No, absolutely not. No, that was well played. And like we said, Sebastian loves to make his decisions quick. He also throws very quickly in the hack. He's very sure about his game, and you know, I played with him for a year, and he's often right. He thinks the game very well, thinks always a couple rocks ahead, and so, you know, when it comes time for him to do it, I think that's part of his process too, Melissa, is that he, you know, for him, he feels like his best performance state is throwing quickly. It doesn't give him time to maybe think about the negative consequences.
No, and a great point, right? So, you know, some people need that time to process the information and to figure out which is the best way to go, but he is usually down to 2 shots really, really quickly before anything else happens. He's ready to go, and you know, 9 times out of 10, he's right. And you know, we've seen him. I've seen him play quite a bit on the circuit this year, and he, like we've already mentioned, he's been playing really phenomenal so far this year, and he's, like you said, played 27 games already and won quite a few of those games. So it's really starting to show here, and just highlighted that in the first end here.
Absolutely, yeah, and not just wins, but like good wins too. In Penticton, they made the quarterfinals there, and they beat John Epping. They also beat Jason Kam out of Ontario, and Yuta Matsumura out of Japan. So, you know, it's not like they're going out and they're beating tomato cans, to use a boxing term. You know, they're playing some good teams, and they're taking them down. So it's good to see. I think Sebastian and Bowie work really well together. I know Sebastian and Cody have now been playing together for a few seasons, and seems like they're pretty locked in together too. And it's yeah, they're going to be a very competitive squad this week, and I'm looking forward to seeing the noise that they can make here. And of course, that's not counting Sebastian going to the Canadian mixed, which I think that always gives you a level of confidence too. When you know, when you can win your province, even if it's not in your, you know, the discipline you play all the time, it definitely sets you on the right path, we can say.
I think I see a 5th player there for Team Robillard, and that would be Matthew McCready, I believe. I think they picked him up as the 5th.
Yep, it is Matthew McCready. And I think he's a great example of a guy you like to bring as a 5th. He's very passionate about curling and about the game. And normally for these types of competitions, Melissa, the role of the 5th is often to study rocks, you know, to see what other teams are throwing and how the rocks on the other sheets are maybe reacting to help you prepare for future games. And I think someone like Matthew McCready, who is a skip, has been a skip for most of his career, thinks the game well, and is also loves the game, you know, he's the right type of guy to bring with you to a provincial championship.
Definitely, and you've said all the right things about Matthew. He's just so passionate for the game, and he just loves it so much. And Matthew, actually, his team was one of the original teams that were to come to this event, but unfortunately, just due to personal reasons, COVID reasons, whatever it is, they needed to pull out. So glad he could still make the trip, and glad he could be here as their 5th player. So Cody Johnson on that last one, John, he didn't quite get to hit enough of that blue stone, that blue Robillard stone, and so he moved it over and unfortunately lost his shooter. So now an opportunity, as you just saw there, from Bowie, pardon me, to guard the right-hand side of the sheet as we're looking at it right now. So sitting 2 right now for Sebastian, and Dean Jonis needs to try and find a way here to score for sure. Cannot afford to give up another point, I don't think, this early.
Yeah, that Blue Rock is just in such a tough position for Team Jonis right now. And I think the tendency sometimes, Melissa, is, you know, you give up 4 and you think we have to get 2 back. And I think that's kind of what they're thinking right now, you know, because I think if the game were closer, your instinct here might be to peel the front, right? To just try and open up the front. Okay, this end didn't work out. Let's bail out. But I think sometimes when you give up 4 in the first end, you think, oh my gosh, we got to get this back right away. And that might be a little bit of what we're seeing right here from Team Jonis.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, John. And, you know, this is only the second end. It's about patience for Team Jonis and just trying to find a way to score here.
Because that's the thing, the way the middle is set up for Sebastian, I mean, there's really no, like, he can easily hit this rock. There's no bother for him in the middle of the sheet right now. So by hitting that one, Jonis, I mean, I know he was hoping to stick right there and maybe get a double into that shot stone eventually, but I just think that, you know, Sebastian's just happy to hit this all day.
Definitely. I think Daniel's going to throw the peel, maybe the double peel here, and try and open up not so much even the blue one, but also open up his own red stone too. So he may have a couple opportunities or options to get access to that blue stone in the 4-foot.
The one thing that's working nicely for Team Jonis here is that red one on the right as we're looking at it. That's the rock that might allow them to score 2 at some point, and Sebastian obviously recognizes that, thinking about maybe doubling or at least getting over to that red one. But he wisely just decides to guard here. But that's the one thing I think that Team Jonis will be sort of hanging their hat on here, is that, you know, they might be able to make a big shot on their last one to try and make that one count.
Exactly, and I think that Sebastian, you know, he really would like to remove that red stone that's top 8 and roll over towards that other red stone, but you know, 2 rocks to go on his side and 2 rocks to go on Jonis' side. I don't think it's worth the chance right now, the risk. It's not a huge risk by any means, but I think for Sebastian, he throws a guard up. It still is going to take Dean at least a shot, maybe even both of his shots, to make this work for him to try and score, because that red stone is in such, or sorry, that blue stone is in such a good spot.
And he makes no mistake. So Dean looking at a shot that usually Skips would save for their last one, but I guess his thought here, Melissa, is that even if he double peels the top guards, he's going to have a tough time scoring two, I'm guessing? Or is this just to try to get three? What's the rationale behind doing this now?
My guess is he's trying to go for three, and I understand it, but I totally agree with your comment. Is this is a shot that normally a Skip would use on his last one. I think if you double peel the blue ones, you've got a pretty good setup for a potential deuce, and I guess I would lean more towards that. But you know, we've seen Dean make a ton of these in the past, so it doesn't surprise me that he wanted to give it a go.
And he will just not curl enough, so it is still Sebastian Robillard without hammer, lying one, and it is dead to the world.
And that was the, that was the unfortunate problem, or, again, risk versus reward. You're taking a risk, and there's a potential of hitting your own out, which is exactly what Dean did, where if you do make it, the reward potentially getting 3 points, but it is the second end. You and I just said that, and there's a lot of game left, and the key here for Dean is he must score this end, and I think the only safest way to have done that is to have peeled off the two center guards and try and give yourself a chance here.
So Sebastian was hoping that one would stick around, but it looks like it is just outside of the ring. So this will leave Dean a chance to draw for the sliver of the button that you can see there to score his one not easy. And as you say, Melissa, I totally agree. This game's a little bit about momentum, and I think if Dean could have gotten two in this end, that would have helped the Mo a little bit more than having to draw the button for one here. But in any case, Dean will certainly want to make this. Going down 5-0 is not the way you want to start the game, that's for sure.
No, that's very true. And Dean made two great draws on the previous end, so looking to duplicate that this end and get a point on the board.
And none of them like it.
No. No, the Brushers have not even put their broom down.
Yeah, that is hot. That is cooking. So now we'll see if that blue on the outside is actually in play. I don't believe it is, but they may want to put a stick on it just for the sake of it. And I guess they decided not to, so it will be one on the board for Sebastian Robillard, and they'll take a 5-0 lead into the third end. Dean Jonis will keep the hammer when we come back. You're watching the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championship. Welcome back, folks, to continuing coverage of the BC Men's Curling Championship live on Curl BC's YouTube channel. John Cullen alongside Melissa Saligo here for this draw two. I guess we'd call it an A quarterfinal game between Dean Jonis and Sebastian Robillard. And Melissa, it's been all one-way traffic so far. Sebastian Robillard up 5-0 on Dean Jonis.
Yeah, what a start for this team. Sebastian Robillard's team, they've just been, I don't think they've missed a shot thus far, and that hit and roll out maybe by Sebastian on the last one, but they really have put their foot on the gas pedal here, and we're just looking at the scoreboard.
It was
looks like
two.
It was a steal of two.
All right. Wow. I thought they would have needed to put a stick on it, but I guess they didn't. So it wasn't a miss, Melissa.
It wasn't a miss. I take it back. So it is a 6-0 lead.
Wow.
And this goes
That
back to
is,
it, and
that's worse. That's worse than 5-0.
yeah. I'm not one to ever argue with a Dean Jones and his strategy because he's one of the best in the game. But again, I just go back to that end and really think to myself that being in the second end, you know you've given up an unplanned four for sure. I mean, you never plan to get up four, but in the first end, it wasn't looking like a four. Then all of a sudden, it was a four. So how do you get back in this game? And as you said, that key word, momentum. Trying to get some momentum back on your side because it's a long game ahead of you. And the most important thing there for Dean Jones was to score, and I don't think he made it easy on himself.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. And I think it's a case of, you know, the word that comes to my mind, or the words that come to my mind, are unforced error. I think we talked about the first end. Yeah, you gave up 4. That sucks. But like we said, it wasn't particularly their fault. They played a good end. It was just Robillard made a couple better shots, and just the angles were working in their favor. In that end, if you're Dean, you probably have the chance to get 2 back. And you kind of ignore that chance in order to make a low percentage try at 3, and you just don't really need to do that. It's sort of an unforced error in that, if you just stick to the game plan and you do what you're kind of hoping to do, you probably get 2, and 4-2 is a much different score line than 6-0. And you hate to see a team give it up that early, I guess.
No, I agree. I agree. Uh-oh, we have a miss.
Well, we'll see if Team Jones can capitalize. Cody Tanaka flashes that one. So Dean does have one buried behind a corner here with Hammer. We'll see what they can do with it. I think too, Melissa, you're obvious. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know this team really well. Obviously, you know Dean very well, and you know that these guys have the ability to kind of come back, claw their way back into a game, and it does just take one miss for those guys to figure out what they need to do and how they need to get, make some shots to get back in this.
Well, we saw it. I mean, Dean would know firsthand because it happened to him just the draw before this one. They went up 5-0 on Neil Dangerfield, and Neil was able to get it back to 6-5. Neil was leading 6-5 before Dean was able to kind of get control of the game back and end up winning. But yeah, certainly in a 10-end game with the 5 rock rule, 6-0 is not it's not a completely safe lead, that's for sure. And Sebastian will know that too. He's not one who's about to radically change his game plan and just allow Dean back into the game.
So on the first one by Cody Tanaka, I think he was asked to throw hack weight, and he maybe threw more of a board, and that's why he didn't curl as much as he wanted to. Sebastian actually looked at maybe playing the same shot again, but again, I'm a strong proponent of looking at the scoreboard and playing the scoreboard. And when you're up 6-0, you don't need to take a lot of chances. I know, again, it's only the third end, but just remove the guard. Force Team Jones to have to throw a bunch more guards to protect those 2 stones. Eventually, they're going to have to, go over to the other side and deal with those 2 Robillard rocks that are in the rings. So for right now, just keep it simple. Just a very simple game plan.
So we see Cody Johnston replacing the guard, and we get a good look at our sponsors just above the house. Obviously, this event would not be able to happen without them. We have several sponsors at the provincial level here in BC that sponsor both the BC Men's and the BC Scotties Championships. Of course, Kruger Products, the makers of Scotties Tissue Paper, Best Western, Bel Air Direct Insurance, AMJ Campbell Moving, Great Western Brewing, Connect Hearing, and our ice makers here, Jet Ice. So we want to thank all of them for their fantastic support. And in the case of a lot of those sponsors, their annual support. It's quite a few partners there who have been great supporters of curling for a number of years now, and we thank them for that. Well, we might call that one getting a little bit too cute, Melissa, but I guess if you make it, who cares?
I guess so. We haven't seen any rocks that far out that coming from the outside in, on the edge of the 12-foot, but Sebastian called it, and Bowie made no mistake in getting at least one of those guys out. So the thing with it, though, John, is it leaves the corner guard, and if I always kind of look when I'm teaching or I'm coaching, is you always look at the problem rock, and to me, when you're up points and your opponent has a corner guard, that to me is the problem rock. If you get rid of it, you force them to have to put it back, and then, repeat, rinse. So, or is it rinse, repeat? I can't really remember.
Yeah, usually it's rinse, repeat. Yeah.
Rinse, repeat.
Yeah,
okay, I thought maybe
if you
you'd help
just
me out there.
repeat rinse, you're just putting more shampoo on your hair, I think. Yeah. That's what I'm doing when I have a date. I repeat a couple times just to make sure my hair is extra shiny.
Good to know. Good to know. I hope you're not dating much these days. Your fiance might have something to say about that.
Well, I mean, like, going on dates with her. I mean, it still counts as a date, Melissa.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Oh, again,
Melissa's
from the
determined by
outside
the end of the week. Yeah. Oh, just missing the double, too. Some nice throws from Bowie. And I think I agree with you, Melissa. I wouldn't have minded seeing Sebastian peel the corner guard. Obviously, it's a high guard, but also the sign of a confident team that they try that shot twice in a row.
Oh, most definitely. And, you wouldn't see a lot of teams doing that, but there was no hesitation. As we said, Sebastian's very quick at making his calls, and Bowie makes 2 perfect shots. So now it's
Dean
time
asking
for
Dan to double. Go ahead. You can say.
No, I like it. You said it for me. You're saving my voice for me. That's great. Great
nice shot from Dan Wenzik. Beautiful double. And that leaves Dean Jones lying 2 with the hammer.
And I like the weight selection on that as well. You didn't have to throw a high hard one for Daniel. He threw a nice control, eat down normal perhaps, and just a nice, easy, controllable weight where Dean can make the call, get the double, and your rock sits right there. That's a great shot.
So Sebastian now looking for a thin double, I'm guessing.
I think so.
Yeah, these are the types of shots Seb loves to throw. Loves to throw an upweight shot, especially if it's got a tricky angle to it. So we'll see if he can make it.
He's not throwing very much weight, John, so I'm wondering if he's just throwing the hit and roll towards that other red stone.
I think he was trying the double, but just with a lighter weight.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my guess. I don't know for sure, but I played with Seb a few times. That's my guess, is he felt like the lighter weight was easier to make the double. So now a really nice setup here for Dean for 2, and this is kind of exactly what you talked about to start the end, Melissa, where you just keep the game plan simple and get some points on the board.
That's right, and that's exactly what Dean Jones has done. But I would be remiss to say that with that hit and roll out by Sebastian, I mean, what is causing them the issues right now? And it's going to be ended up, if Dean makes this perfect, it's going to be that corner guard. And again, I go back to the fact that even though Bowie made 2 perfect shots, it's that corner guard that's going to, potentially allow Dean to get a deuce and maybe even 3 if Sebastian misses his next shot.
So it's a nice spot there from Dean Jonis. I think Sebastian may have the same shot he gave Bowie, or he could try to freeze, but that brings a 3 into play. As you can probably tell, we don't have the players mic'd up, so Melissa and I just kind of doing our best to fill in what we think they might be talking about.
Or we can make it up. No one needs to know. You know, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, John. And you know, Dean makes a perfect shot. He makes a perfect shot around that guard, and now it is putting 3 on, you know, 3 in play here.
And now Sebastian forced to make a draw here, and this is not easy.
No, especially the way those 2 red stones are sitting. And I think Sebastian did look at playing the same shot as Bowie, but you know, there's just that you can only see a couple of inches probably of either of those 2 rocks. So very, very difficult. So choosing the other difficult shot, and that is the draw.
So final stone here for Sebastian Robillard, facing 2 Team Jonis counters without hammer. The first time the pressure's been on him all game. We'll see if he can respond. This has got to get around that top one. And it will not. So Dean Jonis will have an opportunity for 3 here.
What a great opportunity here for Dean Jonis and his team to get 3 right back. And John, I'm not going to say it again, but I am going to say it again. That corner guard.
You called it. The problem rock.
A problem
Certainly
rock.
wasn't. Yeah, it certainly wasn't a problem for Dean Jonis, as he has an open hit for 3. And he makes no mistake pushing it by the red, so he will cut the lead in half. Dean Jonis now only down 3. Sebastian Robillard up 6-3, but he will have the hammer when we come back. You're watching the BC Men's Provincial Championships live on Curl BC's YouTube. Welcome back, folks, to the continuing coverage of the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championship. This is draw number 2, a quarterfinal action between Dean Jonis and Sebastian Robillard. And Melissa, it was a huge lead for Sebastian Robillard, but Dean Jonis cutting it in half with a huge 3 in the third end.
What a great end. Just well played by Team Jonis. Just keep putting those rocks in the right place, and you know, it just is a matter of patience, and Dean Jonis is an expert at that. He's a very patient guy, and you know, he put the right rocks in the right place, and all of a sudden he's got 3 on the board by forcing Team Robillard and Sebastian himself to make a very difficult shot on his last one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because we saw him be maybe a little impatient in the second end, and that cost him a couple points on the board. So once he settled into that more patient game and just let the points come to him, sure enough, there they were. So great end for Jonice, and we've got ourselves a bit of a game. And speaking of that, we've got other games happening in the Kamloops Curling Club right now, as you can sort of see in the background there. Jeff Richard is up 2-0 on Rob Nobert. That is in the fourth end. Tyler Tardy, the number 1 seed, facing off against Sean Giel. Tardy is up 3-1 in that one. They're playing the fourth. Giel with the hammer. And the Islanders, Paul Cheka, facing off against Jim Cotter. And Paul opened with a 3, but then Jim answered right back with a 3 of his own. They're tied 3-3, playing the third. So Melissa, you're a high performance coach. If you're Team Robillard, what are you talking about after that third end? Because you're in total control, and then you see it kind of slip away from you a little bit in the third end there, and you give up a big 3. What's something that you would be telling a team to maybe focus on, or what do you think they were focusing on in the third end break there?
Well, I would like to see them have had a conversation simply about looking at the scoreboard. Obviously, they knew they were up 6 points. They're trying to, like, if they ever gave up a deuce, that's perfectly okay. I mean, a 3 is not bad either, don't get me wrong, but a deuce is always ideal when you're up, up that many points. And I think they just need to decide. We both know, we both talked about the fact that Sebastian is very, very aggressive. He loves to play with rocks and play. But, you do sometimes, I think at some point, regardless of what end it is, when you have such a lead, is maybe just putting your defensive hat on for a second and deciding, how can you ensure that you don't give up more than 2? And, I'm probably going to harp on it again. Yes, yeah, I am. It's just peel the guard. If you peel the guard, John, you're not giving up 3.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're totally right.
Sebastian's going to get mad at me for that, but you know what? It's true though, right?
No, I mean, I don't think he'll get mad at you because you're right. Can't get mad at someone when they're right. I mean, you can, but then you're the problem and not the other person.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for the support.
Hey, I got you anytime.
So, I'm really thinking that Sebastian, and there's a perfect example, just keeping it clean, right? Dean Jonice and his team have to they're down 3 points without Hammer. They're the ones that have to make a ton of shots in a row and hope that Sebastian can't make those shots and try and, kind of somehow get back into this game. Not that they're out of the game, don't get me wrong. But with Hammer, if you score here in 4, you take a 4-point lead again, you're back in full control. He's in control now, but just keep it a little bit more simple. You don't need points right now, but you definitely have to limit how many points you give to your opposition.
So Cody coming a little deep. I thought Sebastian might be tempted to chase it, but like you said, Melissa, he might just be slowing the game down here a little bit.
I like Bowie's comment there, and I was thinking the same thing. If you play the intern on this, you can spin it over towards a corner guard and still, make the same shot. they're just doing the straight peel, so I'm kind of contradicting myself, like keeping it clean, just make the straight peel. But I think what Bowie was looking at is if you play the other turn, you can maybe spin it a little bit or even rub off that blue stone. It's kind of in the way right now, in all honesty, the one that's just covering the side forefoot.
So Dan Wenzik just looking to put a cap on the shot stone here. Of course, Dan, a former BC junior champion.
First off was this, but I don't want to lose this one. Play this.
And he makes no mistake. Former Canadian college champion as well, should be noted, is Daniel Wenzik.
Yes, he is. Douglas College, gold medal.
That's right. Yep. The Royals.
Coach none other by the rock star Will Sutton. I believe he coached them that year. Oh, yeah.
My goodness. I'm jealous. I want Will to coach me in something. And how about that for a shot from Bowie Abbas Mills? Not only gets rid of the red, but rolls directly behind the corner guard.
Amazing.
That is absolutely nasty, folks.
That is such an incredible shot. And Sebastian will go, yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem.
Fantastic shot from Bowie. As we said, you're now allowed under the Curling Canada laws to have one import player, a player from another province, and Bowie calls Ottawa, Ontario, and the Rideau Curling Club home. Him and Sebastian played together back in Ontario, and they actually came fourth in the Ontario Provincials in 2018. So very familiar with each other, and I know Sebastian, when he was looking to put his team together, just wanted someone who was willing to play a lot, and I think Bowie sort of fit that bill. Obviously, they knew each other well, and he's obviously been a great fit for the team.
Yeah, he really has, and he's really done a great job of supporting Sebastian in the back end when Sebastian, needs to maybe get a little calmer and when he goes to throw his stones and stuff. And Bowie makes a ton of shots, as we just saw from that one. So what a great addition.
And he will just run that one by. So it's Jonice sitting one without hammer here in the fourth.
Yeah, Daniel Wenzik making a great draw on his last one there, as we see, and that was what they were chasing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think, one thing that you learn, especially as a front end player, and you and I both played front end, Melissa, is that different skips have different energies. Obviously, Dean and Sebastian have fairly different energies. Dean's a pretty laid back guy, and Sebastian is a little bit more intense. And I think both of the energies are positive. It just, you need the right mix of players to surround you to sort of support that. And that's really what makes good curling teams. And I think your point about Bowie is spot on, that I think he's able to sort of synthesize Sebastian's intensity, sort of get to the root of what Seb wants to do and how he wants to play the game. And I think that's what's helped them really work well together.
Yeah, well said. I totally agree. And I think that's just, as you say, spot on. And I think that's a really good. So, sorry, just getting to the shot, Dean Jonice, I took a little bit of time to discuss this shot, trying to lie to here. Obviously, it would have been a bonus for Team Jonice to force Seb to have to take one here in this fourth end, but Dean just wondering if maybe that rock pick, yeah, you can see him Just thinking that that rock picked right out of his hand and doesn't get anywhere near the rings.
So this opens up a possible blank here for Sebastian. Might also open up a potential split if Dean has to maybe make a double and roll out. He might be able to split that top blue one in for 2. So certainly opens up the options for Sebastian with hammer here. Needs this one to stick around. And it won't. So we may be we might be heading to a blank here. I didn't think we would didn't think we'd see one the way this end was shaping up, but a miss from Dean, and here we are.
And you can see Team Jonice talking about this right now. You know, when you look at it, the obvious is to hit and try and roll your shooter behind, but Dean's goal here is to, in a perfect world, is to try and force Sebastian to have to take one, and the only way I would think that you could do that is maybe throwing the draw around. But you know, it's you just got 3 on the board. You have a little bit of momentum. You had a pick on your previous one, and you know, I'm not sure you want to take a risk right now of giving up another deuce, so I kind of like they've elected to hit this rock. And if they get the blank, they get the blank. And if they get to, you know, hit and roll, they still might get a small chance at a force, but...
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Melissa. I think this is the right call. I think it's not, yes, there is a force if you make it perfect, but it's not your dream force, you know? You're not... it's a lot of pressure on Dean to set up that force. Ideally, when you're forcing, it's not in that scenario. So I think this is the right call. Although the sweepers are on this right away, and this is just a straight miss, I believe.
Wow.
That is well, not close. So
I have no, you know, he came out so smooth and so slow. I actually thought, I was debating myself whether he was actually throwing the hit, but I don't think he had seen any shots out there, and that was, you know, quite soft, and they got on it right away, and it over curled by over 2 feet.
Yeah, it looked like he might have, and I think this happens sometimes when you come out to throw a hit. I think sometimes if you come out a little light, you also have a tendency sometimes to point it, because you're already sliding out a little slow, and it just somehow that's the natural motion. I think that's what happened there. It was sort of a combination of maybe a little light on the weight and then coming over the top of it, and now Sebastian's going to have a chance to split here and get that 3 right back.
Jumped on it right away for Wade. As you can see, Cody getting right in behind. Wade looks really good. It's a matter if he can get it. He's close. Oh.
Yeah, just a little light. Yeah, just not quite the weight he wanted, but it's still 2. So Sebastian Robillard will take that walking away, and they'll take an 8-3 lead going into the 5th end. We'll be right back after this. You're watching the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championship. Welcome back, everybody. You're watching continuing coverage of the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championship. This is draw number 2. Sebastian Robillard up against Dean Jonice. John Cullen alongside Melissa Saligo on the call, and you can see the scoreboard there. Lots of crooked numbers for both teams. Sort of the antithesis of the game we saw earlier today, as Sebastian Robillard is out to an 8-3 lead, and Melissa, we saw two uncharacteristic mistakes from Dean Jonis that essentially allowed Sebastian to put that 2 on the board.
That's very true. You know, it was a fairly innocuous end, and Dean was actually set up pretty well, and you know, he was at one point on his first one trying to lie too, and you know, thinking that maybe it picked out of his hand, and unfortunately on his last one, not exactly sure what happened, but we think he was a little bit light, maybe pointed it, and really not the Dean we usually see when he misses 2 rocks like that. So huge 2 points back on the board for Robillard. He was really looking at potential of force or a blank, and then manages to get 2.
Yeah, I think especially when you're up 6-3 and you've just given up 3, it felt like Jonis had a bit of the momentum. Dan Wenzik made an excellent shot on his second to kind of keep the force alive for Dean, and yeah, just a couple unfortunate misses, and like you say, Melissa, like not even close, really. I mean, his first one, you know, he believed picked, so you know, I'm not on the ice. I'm inclined to believe him. He probably, I mean, it came about 20 feet short, so an unfortunate pick on his first one, but on his second one, I mean, you never see a skip at this level miss an open hit like that. So I don't know exactly what happened here, but maybe the ice is getting a little soft or something, because we see Jeff Guinard hogging that one too. So
Wow.
we talked about this earlier, Melissa, that, you know, we saw rocks in the afternoon draw. You know, if you weren't positive and out to the broom and you didn't have most of the weight already on the stone, it was tough to drag the rocks very far, and a lot of them were coming to a sudden stop. And I wonder if that's maybe just being magnified a little bit on this evening draw here, as we've seen a few now from both teams come up quite short.
Yeah, and I said right off the get-go that, you know, both teams seem to have picked up on the draw weight very quickly in the first couple of ends for sure, and it was, you know, the ice looked good and everything was going well, and now we've seen just a couple of mishaps here that were just not fully clear on, you know, on what's happened, but you know, based on the earlier draw, the ice, I haven't done a time on this one, but we saw the ice running about 15, you know, 15 and a quarter hog to hog. You know, it's curling anywhere from 4 to 5 feet, depending on where you're throwing the rock. So Mike Merklinger and his crew has done a tremendous job on the ice here, on the ice conditions here at the Kamloops Curling Club. And, you know, it's just that you know, depending, again, I think you mentioned it, John, is that, you know, when you first start a tournament, the rocks are sharper, and so they curl more and they tend to grab a little bit, so they may not have the carrying weight that you're expecting. So with the way the ice is running, you almost have to throw it there as the thrower, and once it makes the break point about the hog line, that's when you need your brusher to be able to do their thing. And if you're doing that at the beginning of a shot, it makes life a lot more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen it. Not only does it make life difficult, you're just not going to make the shot. That's just really the truth of it on this ice. And you know, at least from what we've seen so far, that you know, you're not going to be able to drag the rock as far as maybe you might be able to on a different surface. So as you say, the ice crew's done a phenomenal job here. It just sometimes, especially in these provincial events, takes a little bit for the ice to settle in, and so it is possible that teams are just fighting that a little bit now, as you know, as we've seen them be a little light and the sheet maybe be a little weight sensitive, as Cody Johnston makes a pretty nice shot there.
Really great. And this is a situation that I just want to point out again, and you know, I guess I like to hear myself talk, but you know, Sebastian's up. Sorry, Sebastian's up 5 points, right? You don't need to take any chances here. So whether you choose to pick that rock out or, you know, he's trying to play the hit and flop under. You don't need to play the hit and flop under. There's really no need for it. You know, if you hit it right on the nose, you get rid of both. If you that blue one behind in the back eight is really doing Sebastian no good right now. It's actually helping Dean Jonice's team. So, you know, just keeping those things in mind and, you know, kind of play the scoreboard. That's the thing I like to coach. I like to teach, and for all the younger curlers out there watching, going, why isn't he playing the scoreboard? Because Melissa says so. You'd listen to me, right, John?
I always did. Whenever I was, whenever you were offering tips, I was there to listen, and now I'm being paid to listen to you as my broadcasting partner. So that's how it works. If you don't know about the Saligo School, if you don't listen, eventually this is what happens. So no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, you're always appreciated your advice as a player. Of course, for those of you watching who maybe don't know, Melissa is one of Curl BC's high performance coaches, and you worked with my teams a decent amount over the years, and always a treat. You always had the right things to say, so you have my full support.
John. Thanks, John. I know you have to say that, but thanks, John. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't have to say anything.
I know.
Has commentating with me for a couple tournaments now not helped you realize that I'll
you
just
can
say
anything. That's right. You know,
and
case in
another
point
nice
here.
shot from Dan Wenznick.
Yeah, but case in point on the first one there by Bowie, like look what happened, and the redstone's, you know, still at the back, and I really think that you can see about half of that redstone. Why not, you know, potentially pick it out? You don't have hammer here. So I understand, sort of. I understand why he's decided to, you know, try and play the double off this outside one. But this shot is, I don't know, I didn't add them up. I think 5th or 6th shot. You know, there is the opportunity, as I just mentioned, to play the pick on the one that Dan Wenznick just threw. Might be a little bit easier than playing this in off, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one.
yeah, you know, with 4 rocks to go, or sorry, 3 rocks to go for Team Robillard. I just didn't know you had to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would have been 6 shots. So, you know, with Team Janice sitting 1 there, why would you not just try and pick shot rock?
Yeah, that's what made sense to me. Again, it's the same thing that happened when they gave up the 3 before. It was sort of like, you know, you had the opportunity to just give up 2. And then you sort of brought 3 into play on your own. And it's kind of what they've done again here. I mean, the one maybe benefit is that Bowie's shot stone rolled in for 3rd shot. So it kind of forces Jonice to kind of chase it. So they got a little lucky in that regard. But yeah, it just seems to me that, you know, it's like we said, a team playing with a lot of confidence. They're not missing a lot. And I think that that's maybe affecting some of their decision making. You know, when you start to feel it and it's your first game of provincials, you're starting to feel good. You're like, heck yeah, we can make just about anything. And, you know, sometimes it's not the best option. So what do you think
Did
they're
they call a
discussing here,
timeout?
Melissa? I don't think they called a timeout. I think they just all come down to talk about it.
Okay. Well, originally I think they looked at obviously those two blue stones that are just outside the forefoot, and you know there's definitely no double on that without jamming on the red shot stone. So there's not a lot of scoring area left. Obviously, um, the forefoot's getting a little bit congested, so trying to figure out how he can, you know, put two on the board at minimum, and I'm not sure there's really anything off the blue stone on the 8 foot on the right hand side as we look at it. I mean, if you nose it, it doesn't give you anything. If you roll it in, I'm not honestly sure what that will do other than he could maybe have a short run back on his first skip stone. I think maybe that's what he's thinking, but I guess the bonus of this, John, is if he gets rid of the stone, it does bring that red one in the back 8 back to third shot, and I think that would be very important here for Dean Jonis.
Yeah, I think he's, it seems to me anyway, trying to keep 3 in play here. How that happens is a future problem.
True that.
I don't know if that was the spot they wanted to roll to.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Exactly. I think Sebastian's going to take this on of just slightly high side or the right hand side as we're looking at it, and he might be able to remove both of those red stones.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unless the red that's on the right as we're looking at it jams on that blue, which I think it might jam, but I think it still rolls out probably. I think those two reds go pretty easily. So they did want to hit and roll in. I guess they just needed a little bit more of a roll.
Yeah, another 3-4 inches, I think the shot wouldn't be there. So big shot here for Sebastian. Trying to play the double. Like that.
Oh, it did jam.
There you go. It did jam.
Interesting.
So Team Jonis lying second and third, I believe. Is that right?
Yep. They are lying 2-3 once again. 3 is on the table here for Dean Jonis with hammer.
John, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, but you might want to just take a quick peek. I got the vote.
Wow.
Wow.
All right.
And you're the comedian.
Well, you know, one of the two of us gets paid to make people laugh, and we'll just decide which one of the two of us that is.
That's funny.
Oh, there we go. See, now Heather's correcting herself. Yep.
Oh, Heather, sure. Just
so
so
double
you know,
here for Dean.
Kudos for being the funniest of us too. But anyway, I think I'm going to lose the battle for the most part. All right. Wow. That did not go well for Dean, as you can see his face.
Yeah, I guess he was trying to cross that.
I think so.
That did not quite work out. And now all of a sudden, Sebastian's going to be sitting 4. This end's been a real roller coaster, Melissa.
It has. You're right. And for Dean Jonis, he's going to have to find a piece of the button, I believe, just to get his single. Once Sebastian removes the stone, which I'm obviously assuming that he won't miss. I guess I shouldn't make assumptions.
And you will make it go away, no problem. So Dean will, as you say, have to draw a piece of the button facing 4. So it was an end where both teams were sort of wresting control from each other, but in the end it was Robillard who got the The final, you got the hand on top of the bat. That's for anyone who played baseball growing up. You used to decide first bat by throwing the bat
That's
up in
right.
the air and then doing your hands on top of each other. So yeah, that's a that was a reference for the 1990s kids out there who played sandlot baseball. But in any case, Dean was a great baseball player. We'll see if he can find a strike here. He's looking for the button, and he needs it facing
wow,
4
look at
and
you
down
go.
5. Looks close. Needs a piece of the button. And he will
What a
get it.
shot.
Tremendous shot under pressure
Lovely.
from Dean Jonis. Keeps this game alive, but it will be Sebastian Robillard keeping a 4-point lead and the hammer into the 6th end. We're heading into the 5th end break. We'll see you back here in about 3 or 4 minutes time. John Cullen and Melissa Sligo here watching the BC Men's Provincial Championships. See you back here shortly. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Well, here we are, the 5th end break, Melissa, and this has been a wild game, 8-4 for Sebastian Robillard, and Sebastian will have the hammer playing the 6th end. Can you make sense of this so far for me? You're the expert. It's been all over the place. but it's been certainly fun to watch.
It has been fun to watch, and obviously both teams putting lots of rocks in play. And it started off at that first end. It was just kind of weird. Both teams making a ton of shots, and all of a sudden there's a 4 on the board by Sebastian's team, and then Dean. We talked about it, John. I think Dean could have maybe elected to make a different call on his, I think it was second to last shot. And, risk versus reward, we always look at that from a coaching perspective. And he elected to take a little bit more risk, and therefore, instead of potentially getting 2, and I think 2, I think he was going for 3, and therefore ended up giving up a steal of 2, and that's a big difference right there. But he battled back in the next end and got his 3 back, and then unfortunately for Dean, Sebastian's now picked up the speed a little bit and really making a ton of shots out there and making some good ones, and Dean had 2 little miscues in that fourth end that really cost him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, it's been kind of back and forth, few key misses for both teams, as you said. And what do you think now if you're Dean, you're down 4 without Hammer, are you pretty much foot on the gas right away coming out of this fifth end break? Is it pretty much all or nothing? How do you approach this?
I think for the sixth end, I might be a little bit cautious just to see how things play out. I mean, giving up 1 might not be the end of the world, but giving up 2 definitely would be. So I think a little bit cautious, but knowing Dean like I do, there's a good chance that he's going to go all in and try and get things going right off the bat here in the sixth end. But as you see from that shot right there with Jeff, I believe that one's on the rings, and that's not going to help their cause.
Yeah, certainly having played with Dean for a number of years, I would tend to agree with your assessment. I would imagine that he would like to force the issue as much as possible here. And I also agree with your assessment that Jeff slipping into the house here also not great. And we saw that earlier. We talked about this with the earlier game, that sometimes when you come back from the sixth end break, the sheet's just been brushed and it's been made to sit for about 5 minutes, and sometimes that can make the sheet a little bit quicker, and it can be a tough adjustment for the lead. And Jeff doesn't play lead often, or hasn't in his career. He's been mostly third or second, so I think this is one of his first years playing lead. And so obviously that all comes with playing the position. Those are some things that you learn over time, and obviously just an unfortunate mistake there for Jeff. And so now this will probably allow Sebastian to control this end. And I would think if Sebastian's able to put a multiple score on the board here, we might see an exchange of gratitude, Melissa.
I think you could be right. And, again, the Dean's going to likely try and go. It's unfortunate with Jeff's first one there, but this gives an opportunity now for Sebastian. He's asking Nathan to come right around that high center guard and just continue to put the pressure on Team Dean Journice and see what happens. And you can see Dean and Jeff having a conversation about, how much risk do we want to take here without the hammer and 6. If you go all in and you give up more than 1 point, I do believe it would be, as you call it, an exchange of gratitude. I love that saying.
Well, we don't shake hands anymore, so I wasn't sure what else to call it. So here we are. We're exchanging gratitude. Yeah, we've seen I think fist bumps so far. We've seen some elbow bumps. It's really up to whatever the teams decide, of course. But yeah, it's certainly a case here where Dean both maybe wants to get a force or get a steal here, and if we don't see that, we may see an early end to this one. And of course, if you want to watch other games, they are all available on the Curl BC Facebook page. Every draw will have 1 game with feature commentary and multiple camera angles, but all the games right now are being streamed on the Curl BC Facebook page. So if there's a game you're particularly interested in, or you're a family member, friend of someone on a team, you want to check it out, you can head on over to the Curl BC Facebook page, and all that info will be there. And the live scores, of course, are up on the Curl BC website. We'll keep you updated as much as we can, but unfortunately we're not in the building, so we don't have really access to any scores any more than you do. But I can tell you right now, Jeff Richard very comfortably up 5-0 on Rob Nobert. They're playing the 6th end. Nobert with the hammer. Tardy and Giel locked in quite a battle. They're tied 3-3. Tardy will have the hammer coming out of the 5th end break there. And at the 5th end break over on sheet F, it's Paul Cheka and the Islanders. They're down 1 point to Jim Cotter. Cotter's up 5-4. Cheka will have the hammer coming out of the 5th end break in that one.
Cody Tanaka with his second peel here, making no mistake.
Yeah, you can throw that high, hard one. The young Tanaka with the spry legs. I can't throw it very hard anymore, so a little jealous.
I think he's out there every day practicing, that kid.
Probably helps, yep.
Team Jonas is going to continue just to put up a center guard here, and pretty sure that Sebastian Robillard will just continue to peel it. Again, that simple game plan for Sebastian. No need to put any more points on the board at this point.
Yeah, and I'd imagine that's something they talked about in the 5th end. Likely at the 5th end break, just talking about slowing the game down a little bit. And I think especially when you're, not only when you have a 4-point lead, but when you have a 4-point lead with hammer, it's pretty easy to slow the game down, and it's exactly what they've done here. Of course, earlier I shouted out our provincial sponsors. We also have local sponsors on the ground in Kamloops that also make this event possible. I'm trying to highlight a couple of them every draw. So tonight we're going to be featuring KTW Digital and the City of Kamloops. Always nice to have support from the city itself. That usually helps. It's the tournament capital of Canada there in Kamloops. And as I said off the top of the broadcast, Kamloops been home to curling tournaments for a number of years. The Kamloops Crown, a big spiel going way back into even when I was a junior. I believe it used to be a car spiel back in the day, and the Kamloops Curling Club has been a hub for curling for a long time and doing a great job hosting this event. And of course, KTW Digital, also a fantastic sponsor of this event. So we thank them both.
Oh, he looks happy with that throw. Another peel.
Yeah, Bowie's had a really nice game.
Yeah, he really has. And made a ton of shots, so I'm not sure if they decided to throw up another center guard or if they're coming around that bluestone. Did you happen to see?
I didn't see. The ice sort of suggests that it's a center, but you'd think at this point they'd probably need to bring the action into the house here. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I mean, that ice could work for either shot, so. We'll allow ourselves to be surprised, Melissa.
I think it's a guard, but no, actually I don't think it is now.
Yeah,
He is coming into the
they're
rings.
definitely trying to come in. Yeah. They kind of had to. Blue Rock is in a spot where you could do it. They need this one to stop though. And it will stop in time, so Sebastian will be forced to play at it.
So Sebastian can see, I would think, a good half, if not a little bit more than half, maybe 3/4 of that red stone. He could, easily play the pick on it. It looks like he's going to play a softer weight and try and keep his shooter around and lie 2. And that would really put a lot of pressure on Dean Jonice on his last one to not give up a multiple point end if Sebastian can make this perfect. Saw a shot similar to this, John, way back in the first end that helped Team Robillard get that 4-pointer. So just half a rock behind a guard and just playing that nice soft bump weight, just like that. What a shot!
Yeah, very well played, and it'll be Robillard lying 2 with hammer and a 4-point lead.
I think Dean's
So it
elected.
looks like Dean's. Sorry,
Yeah,
go
is
ahead,
he
Melissa.
playing the
You
hit
and I
and roll?
both. I think so. Yeah. Well, I think we were
Okay.
both questioning what exactly he was doing because I was going to ask you the same question. But yeah, I think he's elected to hit. I heard hack, so
Okay.
that's my guess is that they're trying to hit and roll here. The freeze is not great, so I don't mind this call.
No, I like this as well.
And that will not curl enough. So it is going to be an open hit for 2 for Sebastian Robillard, and we'll see if our early prediction comes true.
Mine's good. Clean. Might need to curl a little. Yep, low distance too. Yep.
So final stone, Sebastian Robillard here in the 6th end, looking to put another 2 on the board to take a commanding 10-4 lead. Cody trying to make this curl. And Sebastian will make no
Wow.
mistake. So put 2 on the board, and there it is,
That's
the
it.
exchange of gratitude. So Sebastian Robillard will move on to the A draw semifinal. Dean Jonice will drop down to the B. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with coverage of another sheet here at the BC Men's Championship. So don't change that channel. We'll be right back. Okay. Do you want to put me on to say that, Mike? right, hello everybody. Welcome back. If you were just watching with us before the break there, it was Sebastian Robillard, the first team off the first team off the ice here. 10-4 winners over Dean Jones. So they'll move on to the A semifinal, and we're going to join Tyler Tardy and Sean Giel in action here. Tyler Tardy with a 6-3 lead over Sean Giel. John Cullen alongside Melissa Saligo here. Want to give a shout out to our crew at Roll Focus for moving the cameras over for us.
So John, looks like we're on skip stones here, and Tyler Tardy on his first made a perfect freeze to that Giel stone that we see as it just comes into view here. And a great follow-up shot by Sean Giel.
Yeah, very nice shot from Giel to lie one with the hammer here. So Tyler just deciding here.
Yeah. A couple options for sure. They can hit and stick on this outside one, which they have elected to do, and pretty much say to Giel, here's your 2 with a 3-point lead. That's not a bad thing to do here in the 7th end.
So this is Tyler's last stone, just electing to hit the open one and give Sean Giel his deuce.
Nice shot.
Great shot. So Sean will have a chance here to just pop this one back and get 2 back on the board, but of course Tardy will take a 1-point lead and the hammer into the 8th if Sean is to make this.
All right, final shot here for Sean Giel. Just pretty much throwing the same shot he did on his first with a little, probably an extra couple feet of weight. Make sure he moves that one back enough to get his deuce. They trying to make this curl though, John. They haven't. It took a while to
this looks
actually
wide.
put their broom. It does.
Will it hang around? It will not. That was a little bit more weight than I was expecting,
Wow.
Melissa, and it does roll out of the house. And so only 1 for Sean Giel there, and Tyler Tardy will take a 2-point lead into the 8th end. We'll be right back. You're watching the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championship live on YouTube. Welcome back, folks. John Cullen alongside Melissa Saligo. We've switched over from our original feature game, Sebastian Robillard defeating Dean Jones 10-4. So we moved over to another A quarterfinal. We're seeing the number 1 seed Tyler Tardy in action here against Sean Giel. They were winners earlier today against Cameron de Jong. You may have seen that game live on our YouTube as well. And so you can see we've switched over sheets, so you might get a little bit of a different look here from our crew, but obviously it's going to be a great thing to have extra coverage when our game ends a little bit early. So we saw Melissa to end that end. Sean Giel had a relatively routine shot for 2 and unfortunately rolled a little bit too far, and that was a huge mistake that could really affect the rest of this game.
I fully agree that, you know, he had just thrown the shot on his previous one and he only needed a couple extra feet of weight. And I think, as you mentioned, John, he just threw way too much weight and it took a long time for it to curl. And Andrew tried his best and unfortunately just hits and rolls away. And instead of a very, very important 2 on the board, he only gets his single.
So Tardy will be thrilled to both have a 2-point lead and have the hammer, but he'll also be thrilled to have that in the 8th end. Obviously, we know in the modern game, it's very scoreboard-based. Teams really like to have the hammer in the 8th. So Tyler will love that. Of course, we met Sean Giel earlier today, but to refresh your memory, they're from the Salmon Arm, Royal City, and Penticton curling clubs. Sean Giel at skip, Brad Wood at 3rd. Steve Kopf at 2nd and Andrew Bolesky at lead. And over on the Tardy rink, they're from Langley, British Columbia, representing the Langley Curling Club. Tyler Tardy at skip, Sterling Middleton at 3rd, Jason Ginter at 2nd, and lead is Tyler's brother, Jordan. Of course, we talked about Bowie Abbas Mills being the out-of-province player for Sebastian Robillard. Jason Ginter, the out-of-province player for Tyler Tardy, calls Edmonton home, but has been playing with the Tardy rink for 2 years now. So they've got quite a nice young little squad, as evidenced by the number 1 beside their name for this BC Championship, Melissa.
They have had just a tremendous year as well, playing the majority of their events outside of the province, trying to get those valuable CTRS points. And this team also going to the pre-trials as well, and you know, didn't qualify there, but just had a great tournament, and that was their goal, was to try and make that pre-trial event.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a phenomenal job this season. They, as you said, they've been very busy, easily the busiest team in this tournament. They've played 39 games on the year.
Wow.
They've played a couple tournaments in Oakville, Ontario. They were in Okotoks, Alberta, Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Penticton. They went out to Liverpool, Nova Scotia for the aforementioned pre-trials. They were also in Calgary for the original 16 Tour Bonspiel, which they won, by the way. And then they rounded out their year with tournaments in Red Deer and Morris. So a very busy year and a very successful year, qualifying in most of those events, and including, of course, as I said, that win in Calgary. So it's been a very solid year for the young foursome from Langley, and they're obviously looking to continue that here against Team Giel.
And as you say, John, with all those events that they have played in, it has paid off for them, as they are number 12 on the CTRS list. So they've done very, very well for themselves this year.
Yeah, they're ranked number 12 on the CTRS and number 25 in the world, right on the cusp of the Grand Slams. So we get a nice look at Jeff Guinard's changing in the background there. That was a solid
Fantastic.
look at his test. Yeah, we always appreciate that little bonus. Thank you, Jeff. If you've ever been in the Kamloops Curling Club before, you'll also know that the change room directly behind Jeff. So really no need for him to be changing in the lobby, but in any case, we got a free show, which we appreciate.
Oh, nice roll.
Very nice hit and roll from Jason Ginter. And Sean Giel looking in a bit of trouble here without the hammer.
Sean trying everything right now. They're, down 2 points, eighth end. We've mentioned the importance of that eighth end with your 2 hammers to 1 if you were to play it out to 10. But they're pretty much going as hard as they can here for the steal. We've got 2 center guards, and now Brad Wood being asked to play a light tap, maybe if kind of a freeze bump on that bluestone that's hidden in behind that center guard.
Yeah, I think especially against a team like Tyler Tardy, Melissa, if you're Sean Giel, you got to think this is a team that can take care of their business, right? So,
Right.
you know that you kind of have to go for it, and not that they wouldn't go for it against another team, but obviously with Tyler and their excellent record and how well they've played this year and being the number 1 seed in the event, you kind of know in this situation you really have to go for it. So we get our first look here at Sterling Middleton. I think this is the first time I've ever seen him wearing a hat.
I was going to say that. It's the first time I've seen him wear a hat on ice, and we haven't seen his hair. Like, what's going on?
I
It
know.
must be cold out there.
He's got the best hair in the game. I'm a little disappointed
Exactly.
we're not getting to see it right now. He's like robbing the fans. But he looks good in a tutu. Can't argue with that either, and he's looking good with this
Nice
rock as
shot.
well as Tyler Tardy now lying 3.
And that's a great call by Tyler. Obviously, there's 3 red stones out front. You can't really peel all of them. There's really not even a good double peel, and they're set up well in the rings with this. Usually you want to kind of keep it clean when you're up 2 with hammer, but Tyler electing to come in there and look at that, right? I mean, it just looks fantastic for their perspective right now.
Yeah, I think one thing you learn in curling, and Tyler's always been good at this, but now that he's been in the men's game for a few years, is that killer instinct, and he probably sees Sean with a key miss there in the 7th. They know the 8th end is super important to the game. I think we see that killer instinct here, just trying to put Sean away, and that's a big miss from Brad Wood. And this could be I don't know if you can hear that, Melissa, but I believe I'm starting to hear the death knell chiming in the background very faintly here. These are always my favorite strategy discussions where you're just deciding how badly to screw the other team. Well, boys, we're sitting 3 with hammer. How could we make this even worse for them?
You have to take away the run, right? What? You gotta get behind that guard. Yeah, right here. Yeah. Not close. I don't mind if you kill it.
I like the fact that we're 1 sheet closer to our microphones that are on the ice. We can hear a little bit of the conversation going on out there. And so Tyler asking Sterling to throw back 12. Try and move some things around. Most importantly, get his rock fully behind that red stone that is sitting out front there. You don't want to leave anything easier for Team Giel.
Yeah, Tyler was saying he didn't even mind if Sterling hit that one out of the house. He just wanted to
Right.
make the angles at the front a little bit better, and Sterling did him one better, kept it around, and this is not looking great for Sean here as Tyler Tardy sits 4 with hammer and a 2-point lead. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow with continuing coverage here on Curl BC's YouTube and Facebook pages. We'll be live with you, myself and Melissa, for the 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. draws. Well, I'll be taking the 7 p.m. draw off tomorrow, but Melissa will be here with you, and Luke Coles will be here as well, so that'll be a fantastic one. And then we'll have the draws at 2 and 7 on Thursday as well, and then we'll be with you for the remainder of the draws after that, 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, and 2 on Sunday. And of course, the coverage on the weekend will move to cbcsports.ca and Check TV over in Victoria. So looking forward to that. But there's still a lot of curling to be done before we get there. And Sean Giel with a very key draw here. Needs to get this in the right spot or could be night-night.
Yeah, this is a massive, massive shot here for Sean Giel. Weight looks really good. Trying to get it by.
Gotta get by that top one.
Oh.
And they will rub just a bit. Might have been a little too heavy, but in any case, just rubs that top one, and Tyler now might have the chance to sit 5.
The conversation that's going on here between Tyler and Sterling is if they peel this one out, they pretty much give Sean Giel the exact same shot that he just threw, and it gives him a chance to make it better or make it, you know, perfect. But I'm not sure that there's really any other option here other than, you know, you could bring your weight down and play the hit and roll. I don't think you can roll under, but you can roll away. The key here is you just, I think you need to eliminate this red stone.
Yeah, I agree. It's second shot. You get rid of it, you're lying 4. And, you know, sometimes you just have to say to the other skip, well, if you make it, happy birthday.
That's right. Nice shot.
So Tyler will make no mistake. He throws that big weight very comfortably. So Sean will have the same shot, and he needs a piece of the button. You could see next door, Paul Cheka and the Islanders stealing 1 in the 7th end. So they are now up 6-5 over Jim Cotter. They're playing the 8th, Cotter with hammer. And the only other game in progress, Jeff Richards still leading Rob Nobert 5-1. They're playing the 7th. If this game does end, this will be the end of our coverage. We only have the technical capabilities to cover 2 sheets, so just keep that in mind if Sean does not make this draw perfectly.
So the front end saying this one has a little bit better weight. They've got their brooms down. Now trying to get it to curl.
And they get it by the top when they do. Will it slow
What a
down?
shot. What a
my
shot by
gosh.
Sean Giel. Wow.
Unbelievable. Sean Giel was dared to make it, and this is where we maybe say happy birthday. What a shot, Sean Giel. Absolutely fantastic. So Tyler now going to be forced into, I think, some kind of a run back situation here, Melissa.
I think so. It's just a matter, there doesn't really look like there's anything lined up well for him. I'm not even sure he could throw a kind of a soft tap and follow Sean down, and I mean, maybe to move it out for 1, but that doesn't look easy. There's that slight stagger on those 2 rocks at the top there that are really causing Tyler the issue right now.
Yeah, that was the call earlier to improve their angles, which it did, but it also allowed for Sean to have this the opportunity to make that shot. But of course, certainly not an easy one
No.
that
no.
Sean made. So
I think the other, you know, concern I think that Tyler's looking at, of course, is that the 3 rocks out front that he wants to run back are all opposition stones, or all deal stones, and you got to be very, very careful when doing that, of course. So I'm thinking, John, that he is running this red onto the blue one that's right in front of Sterling's broom. Blue onto red is my guess.
Yep. I think you're exactly right. So we'll see if Tyler can make it. It'll be for a bundle if he makes it. And he will not. So a phenomenal shot from Sean Giel on his last stone will keep this game moving. He will pull within one, but Tyler Tardy will maintain the hammer into the ninth end. Tyler Tardy leads Sean Giel 6-5. You're watching the BC Men's Provincial Championship. We'll be back right after this. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to continuing coverage of the BC Men's Curling Championship. John Cullen alongside Melissa Saligo. And Melissa, it looked like it was game over in the eighth, but Sean Giel making an absolutely phenomenal shot on his last one to pick up a steal of one for his team.
No kidding. There was a sea of blue of Tardy stones in that end, and Sean Giel, tried it on his first, and that was the risk, obviously, with Tyler playing the pick on his first, but I don't think there was any other call there. He had to play that, and Sean, fixing what he did and made his second one completely perfect, and it was just an amazing shot and nothing that Tyler could do with it.
Yeah, there was a shot for Tyler there, but it was certainly of the 1 in 50 variety, not an easy run back. And now if you're Sean Giel, Melissa, are you kicking yourself a little bit for missing that shot in the seventh, because this would be a tie game?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's one of the things, you have to try really hard not to leave points, especially points that you pretty much, I'm not going to say straightforward, but relatively straightforward. You can't leave those kind of points off the board in these high-profile games like this. And I know this is only draw number 2 and first one for Team Tardy, but those are things that you have to remember. You have to try and put every point you can on those boards.
So we're once again seeing Sean Giel recognizing that probably his best way to win here is stealing out. Stealing in this end and then stealing in the following end. So Tardy will likely have some chances here.
Yeah, so similar setup to the previous end, and the two center guards will go up, and for Jordan Tardy, trying to draw both of those above the tee line around. Don't really want to be light here, trying to get this one into the rings. Look at that brushing by Sterling Middleton, just leaning on it. Him and Jason make a good pair there.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing you'll notice about the Tardy team at this event. Certainly obviously the shot making is elite. They're the highest ranked team in the field, but the sweeping is also done at a very high level, especially in comparison to some of the teams here. So that's something that, gives Tardy a bit of an advantage in most of the games that they're playing. I think safe to say that they have some of, if not the best sweepers in the event. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but we've already seen it. We've only been watching an end and a half, and already we've seen some phenomenal sweeping from the Tardy squad.
And I almost made a mistake, John. I almost called him John Collins sweeping, but then I realized that it was Sterling. It was a similar look.
Wow. Well, hey, look, I'll take that as a compliment.
It was absolutely a compliment.
Thank you, thank you. I
One a
used to
day.
know how to
You
do
get
it, but
one a day.
thank you, thank you. You really left it to the last minute. I appreciate that. Oh shoot, I better squeeze it in. So that was not the plan, I don't think.
It really was not. So not only did they remove their stone that was in the rings, but also left another center guard and an opportunity here, I think, for Sean Gill to get another one in there. Steve's going to come down and have a conversation. I was going to talk, but I thought I'd wait till that shot ended. I really love
I've heard
what
that
Steve did
scream
there.
before. That's a
Yeah.
Jay Wakefield special right there.
Absolutely.
I've heard that scream in my nightmares a few times.
But I love what Steve did there. You know, he knows what he's throwing, but he just wanted to go down and have a look and just get a visual of where this rock needs to end up. This is a really important placement. He doesn't want to be behind the tee line here, obviously, and he's just trying to get a visual for it. And I think that was really important.
Yeah, I think especially if you have time on the clock, you know, and you can afford to come down and take a peek, it's always important. And that went a little further than they were hoping. So now you got to wonder, Melissa, if Tyler's going to be thinking about trying to bring the blank into play here.
Yeah, he looked like he indicated hitting this redstone on the right-hand side as we look at it right now, running it into the blue back onto the red, and I think that's exactly what he potentially is thinking. If he can get some rocks going, and Jason can hit this one well. Oh, and just bad luck, really.
Oh my gosh, if you tried that 1,000 times, that might only happen once or twice. That was unbelievable.
Wow.
With the amount of weight that
thought he
Jason
had
threw
it.
to not move that off, yeah. Incredible. That's one of those as a curler, you just shake your head, you go, really?
Yeah.
Feel like you're being personally victimized by someone.
You can hear Sean saying, keep it out there, trying to not allow this rock to over curl early. And really working hard just to get it over, to be honest. Wow.
Yeah, we saw this with the Gill team earlier today. They pulled the string on a few draws, but that'll be in a, you know, in a fine spot, I think. They can certainly get one of them out, though. Melissa, I have some news.
Okay.
My fiance just came in and surprised me with fresh chocolate chip cookies.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's the best fiance ever right there.
I know. That's love.
Oh, we're going to have to see those just for the proof.
Yep. I just showed. Oh, there we go. Yep.
Wow.
There
Wow.
they are. The homemade
I have
chocolate chip
water.
cookies. Thank you, Becca. Excellent work.
What a lucky guy.
I know. I know it every day. I get
Attaboy.
to marry Becca and I get to work with Melissa Saligo.
Oh, nice shot by Sterling.
Beautiful shot from Sterling there.
What a fantastic shot. Look at that. He just threw that nice soft weight. He's almost fully buried. It is accessible simply because that guard's so high, but what a terrific shot. Now you made me hungry, John. I wish I had cookies. I
I'm
don't
sorry,
have
Melissa.
cookies.
If you were here, you'd have cookies. I'll tell you that.
I know.
Next time we work together in person, I'll get Becca to put together a little care package.
Oh, nice. That's a good idea.
Her cookies are incredible.
Oh, nice shot. Nice follow-up shot there by
Very
Brad
nice
Wood.
shot from Brad Wood. Yeah, beautiful shot. So now I
Great
think
shot,
we
Mike
really
King.
see Tyler get aggressive for the blank here. Nice throw. But Giel is sitting the 2 without Hammer.
And
I
I
can
like
tell you,
this
Melissa,
call.
we also... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
you go.
I like this call. Like a lot of people may have just thrown a tight center or something, but there's nothing in the forefooot right now. And in order for Sean Giel to actually steal this end, he does have to get one into the forefooot. So great shot, great call here.
Let's go here.
Yeah, I like it too. I was just going to say we have another final. Jeff Richard defeating Rob Nobert 7-1. So Jeff Richard will move into that A semifinal as well. And that's our first A semi is now complete. Jeff Richard will be playing Sebastian Robillard. And that game will go on Thursday. The Scotties taking most of the center stage tomorrow. We will see some men's draws out on the ice tomorrow, but it'll be mostly the ladies that are in charge. And of course, the winner of this game will go on to face the winner of Cheka and Cotter in the other A semi. So
It looks like that sheet's in a 6-6 tie right now in the 9th end.
excellent. Thank you for the update.
Well, I can tell you're eating cookies, so I thought maybe I better do your job for you.
I'm doing
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
I can. Although if they're taking a little team discussion, there's no better time to have a cookie than that.
Well, that's fair. What you doing, John?
I'm eating cookies.
Look at you eat
I
your
wasn't
cookies.
I wasn't joking. I wasn't joking.
Wow. At least you could turn off your mic while you eat cookies. You're eating cookies in my ear. There's a good shot of the margarita.
Yeah, you're getting thirsty and hungry here, Melissa.
Yeah, you're right, I am. Come on, Sean. So team discussion here, and I you know, Sean's indicating to the exact same shot that he went down into the hack to throw, just a soft tap, and I think it's between that and the center guard.
Close. Good. Good.
I think that, you know, if Sean were to throw the center guard, I'm going to guess that Tyler would have to make a decision here. You know, there's nothing in the forefooot right now. And so if you throw a center guard, does Tyler ever come around and bury one behind those two centers? And even that one in the top 8 would be a guard as well. So I think that's what Sean's worried about by throwing the guard. I personally like the tap myself, but I'm not sure what the final decision was.
I think the final decision was to tap.
tap.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we talked about this in the earlier game, but most teams are pretty aware of the stats now, and it's usually the team with hammer wins in the extra end over 80% of the time. And you got to think if you're Sean Giel that Tyler likely increases that percentage a little more than an average team being as good as they are. So I think Sean's probably thinking to himself, well, you know, if I were to win this game, the most likely way I win it, and I said this earlier, is to go steal. If you give up even one here, you know, the likelihood of Giel getting more than 2 in the 10th is fairly slim, and then Tyler would have the hammer in the extra even if he does get 2. So I like this call, although it over curled on them a little bit.
Sure did. The weight was fantastic.
Will have the chance here. Yeah, perfect weight.
Tyler Tardy with his first here in the 9th end with hammer, up 1. Wow. I'm not sure what happened there. They were playing the one that was on the right-hand side of the sheet there.
Yeah, that over curled. And Sean
Big
Giel
time.
sitting 3 without hammer and in some pretty nice spots.
So timeout here by Team Giel.
So what are you seeing here, Melissa? It looked like they were maybe talking about drawing around that sort of quasi-center guard or the rock in the 8-foot on the center. There's some talk of freezing the corner of this red one. What's sort of popping out to you?
I think if you throw the draw, the wide in-turn draw, it has to be absolutely perfect, or you're going to give Tyler an out. I almost was tempted. I kind of like what Sean was thinking there by maybe corner freezing that redstone, you know, on the inside and you know, basically regardless of where you put it, trying to force Tyler to draw maybe against 4 here in this 9th end. You know, even if you tap it a bit like they're doing there, I think if you play to the other side, Tyler's got a few options. You can either play the draw if you're heavy, you can play the hit and roll off the one that they're pointing to right now. So I'm kind of liking for Team Giel playing on this side of the sheet and leaving that, I guess it would be Tyler's out-turn side open in case he has to make that draw. And it's not easy in the 9th end making a draw against 4.
It's not easy in the first end.
Well, good point. Good point.
That's why I never skipped. I was not interested. Not interested in drawing against 4. Let someone else do that.
Yeah, I like this. I really like this call.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, I think that view of the house that we just had really shows you that draw to the 4-foot is no gimme. I think when you see the overhead angle, you think, oh, okay, yeah, it's just a routine draw to the 4-foot. But when you see it head on, it's a little scary.
It is. Yeah. So I think freeze or freeze tap here even, and you might be able to just tap on the inside to get both of your rocks touching the 4-foot. Well, it looks like it's going to be a straight tap.
To the corner of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic shot.
Pretty good, yeah. Although it might give Tyler a bit of an out here, where he can hit instead of draw.
Ooh.
I don't blame Tyler. Like I said, that draw's not easy. That rock is not perfectly on the center line, Melissa. So you kind of got to get out a little bit wider. And now with where that red rock ended up, you got to get a piece of the button. Not easy.
No, I agree. You know, I would be worried if Tyler did have to throw that draw. I mean, we haven't seen draw weight or ice conditions on this particular sheet very long, but you know, the fact that he can throw this and maybe only give up one or even score here would be a huge thing, but he does have to get to the inside of that blue stone.
Sure, he'd be fine only giving up one. And that's exactly what happened. So Sean Giel with another steal. And it's going to be a tie game heading into the 10th. But Tyler Tardy will have the hammer when we come back. You're watching the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championships live from Kamloops, British Columbia. Well, hello, folks. Welcome back to continuing coverage of the BC Men's Provincial Curling Championships. You're watching the A quarterfinal between Tyler Tardy and Sean Giel. John Cullen alongside Melissa Saligo. And Melissa, that is not a great way to start the 10th end if you're Team Giel. Andrew Bolesky hogging that rock.
Well, and it wasn't even close. I think they kicked it out about 20 feet before the hog line. I'm not sure what happened. We didn't see the whole thing, but yeah, I guess they knew it didn't have the legs and therefore just got rid of it. So huge mistake there by Andrew Bolesky. As you said, John, you're trying to steal here and you need that all-important first rock up in that free guard zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Very tough to steal when you don't get the guards in the right spot. So Jordan Tardy will put that one in the house, and Sean Giel will hope that Andrew can find his way to this one.
I think the sweepers like this one a little better. And we'll update you as soon as we can in that all-important 9th end over on sheet F between Cheka and Cotter. I didn't see what happened there.
No, me neither. I think Paul's getting ready to throw his last one here. Not sure what the situation is, but I believe that's where they're at. So yeah, we'll keep an ear out and an eye out, see what happens.
So nice guard up there by Andrew. So second opportunity here for Jordan, trying to play the split this time. And Sean could have maybe kept sweeping that, but
yeah, well,
he might have
perfect
a shoulder
shot.
injury. Yeah, it's a perfect shot. He did hurt or kind of roll his shoulder earlier on a sweep, so you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. One of those things you don't want to screw yourself up at the start of the week, that's for sure.
What a great shot by Jordan.
I believe I heard Paul make a noise, so I feel like it maybe didn't go great for Cheka, but we'll see.
Okay. All right, so it's peel time here for Team Tardy with the free guard zone, and Jason Ginter now allowed to peel.
And Ginter will make no mistake. So looking decently set up here is Team Tardy. And this is really where that first miss by Andrew Bolesky is felt. There's just becomes a little bit too easy to clear out the front for Team Tardy.
Yeah, it's that first rock is just so very important, and you know that, John, obviously playing the lead position, but you know that's the beauty of the free guard zone, right? You've got to get those two guards up, you know, when you're trying to steal for sure. So pretty straightforward here, and Team Gale going to continue to put up the center guards, and Team Tardy not going to waste any time trying to get rid of them. How's the cookies, by the way? Are you finished them?
Cookies they're gone. Yeah, they're long gone.
Wow. You
Yeah.
didn't even share.
No, well, no one to share it with. We're recording remote, so you know it's kind of like, what can you do, really?
Yeah.
If I could share, I would. That's my promise to you.
Okay, fair enough. Hold
And
you
I
to
guess I think I misread Paul, because it looked like Cheka got 3 in that 9th end. So maybe he odd because they had a shot for 4 and he missed it. But they got 3. So it is Team Cheka
Wow.
up 9-6. The Islanders from the Victoria Curling Club up 9-6 on Team Cotter. So it'll be a bit of a climb back for Jim in the 10th. They're just right next door. And as we said, the winner of this game will go on to play the winner of that game in the A semifinal. And as we know, Jeff Richard will be playing Sebastian Robillard tomorrow night in the other A semifinal.
So down to thirds rocks here, Brad Wood. You can see, John, that they're just trying to put this guard in a bit of a different spot. You know, normally they would try and put it on the center line, but with what was going on, they're trying to double guard now the corner side here for Tyler, make it maybe a titch more difficult. But Tyler would love to get rid of both of
sometimes
these
it's
corner guards.
Totally, yeah. Sometimes that does help, you know, just a little bit of a different look. And yeah, to go back to your earlier point about Andrew, I think, you know, I did play lead for a long, long time, pretty much my whole career, and Andrew hasn't. You know, Andrew's played basically skip and back end his whole career, and you know, people can say what they want about leads, but the adjustment to the position is often difficult. And I think, especially when you're coming into the 10th end, the one thing you always think as a lead is, I can't come in the rings. I can't.
Right.
If I come in the rings, the end is over. I can't come in the rings. And sometimes that thought overpowers your brain, and you come light. And obviously, you know, you wouldn't hope to hog it, but you know, I think Andrew just maybe getting used to the position a little bit. I would imagine that's what was going through his head is, I just don't want to slip it into the rings for the boys, and then ending up overcompensating a little bit. So it's always a push and pull when you play lead to, you know, try and get those guards in the right spot. But yeah, it's potentially a factor there is just Andrew's newness to the position.
Trying to bump this one maybe, or I'm not
I don't know.
sure what the call was. If they were trying to come
Maybe
around
they were
it,
trying
maybe.
to come around it and it overcurled. Yeah,
Mhm.
we're always on the same wavelength. But yeah, that to
We
me
are,
was
it's
the only
scary.
thing that maybe made sense. Yeah, that probably was the only thing that makes sense. And now you got to think, if Sterling Middleton can get rid of this red rock, I don't really know what Sean Giel does here. Tyler's always going to have a shot with his last one.
Nice shot.
And nice shot from Sterling to just get that off the top. Take that for granted a little bit. Some teams might say, it's okay if we lose the back one, but by keeping that one there, it It's maybe a little bit of a fail safe for Tyler, where maybe he gets in a situation where he doesn't even have to throw his last one. So really nice shot from Sterling.
Yeah, and you see what Sean's doing here. Pretty much the only thing he has left to do, and that's to use that blue rock that's in the rings as a guard and try and come around it. So he's electing to go way out into the 12 foot and come around this way instead of, the other way, just try and get maybe half buried. Get Tyler to have to play something on his blue onto red, and in a perfect scenario, maybe lie 2 and force Tyler to have to draw for his single point.
Yeah, I think if you're Sean here, that's something you always talk about if you're in a tie game, and especially if the start of the end doesn't go well, you want to force your opponent to draw. There's just way more things that can go wrong in that scenario. So, yeah, no doubt about it.
I think Sean's a little confused at that as well. He was trying to draw around. It comes up quite a bit light, and not too sure what happened there. First tardy stone of this 10th end.
Yeah, looking to make that go away. Want to make sure that one gets out. And it does.
So same shot here, I think. Trying to draw around that blue rock that's just top 8. Got to be shot rock now, though. We saw Sean make a great shot a couple of ends ago behind a few rocks into the 4 foot, so looking to make a good one here. Not sure how much room he has there, John, and it looks like he's got to bite the back of the 4 foot, I think, in order to be shot rock.
Yeah, it's a very precise shot. There's no doubt about that. But we've seen him make one in this exact direction not 2 ends ago. So we'll see if he can tap back into that magic. And like we said, this is where Sterling picking that one off the top really comes into play. If Sean ever racks on it, then it's easy game over for Tyler. So final stone here for Sean Giel, tied without the hammer, looking to make a very precise draw. Sweepers are on it. They got to get it around this one. It's got to get by. Oh my goodness, and he's done it again.
What a shot.
Just phenomenal touch from Sean Giel. Outstanding shot. And so now Tyler will, I'm guessing, play the short run back here.
I think so. Look at that shot. I mean, you could not walk down and place that red stone of Sean Giel's any better. It had to be perfect, and it was.
Absurd touch. So here we go. Final stone for Tyler Tardy. He was up 6-3. Sean Giel has clawed his way back. But Tyler looking to thwart the comeback attempt here. Needs to make a short run back. Sweepers are all over this. Can they hold it?
Nice shot.
Yes, they can. Fantastic sweeping from Ginter, and Jordan Tardy gets the job done. It wasn't always easy, but in the end, it's a W for the #1 seed, Tyler Tardy. So he will move on to the A semifinal tomorrow night. And we'll be back here tomorrow with more coverage of the BC Curling Championships. It'll be a switch over to the ladies. We'll be watching the BC Scotties tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific. Be sure to join us here on Curl BC's YouTube. For Melissa Saligo, I'm John Cullen. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.